Like, I was in a very uncertain place. I was working for the Navy at the time, so I was very stressed. A lot of things I couldn't talk about, and the few things I did want to talk about that weren't like work related, none of my family gave a damn. And my one IRL friend who was available to talk at the time was not a nerd, so none of this shit interested him. So the only place I got to talk about it was on YouTube. But finally, I got to have like one-on-one conversations, and not only that, but you guys played games with me, spent time with me, that like an actual friendship and camaraderie formed, and like that connection between everybody, Arctic, Nathan, Syl, and again the other individual who I do not know wishes to be named, but just sitting down, listening to your stories about yourselves, listening to you guys talk about the same stuff I always love talking about in these big like nerdy moments. It felt like I had finally found like I felt like I found like kinship with people. Found other people who actually liked the things I did, and I felt like a connection to that wasn't just meh. It felt good to spend time with you guys. And a lot of people say it's like you got to be careful with like formulating relationships online because they're very easy to fall apart, and for a lot of people, unfortunately, it's also easy to break off. Even if you have like the moments I'm talking about right now, for some people, in a moment of passion or anger, it's much easier to let go of a relationship you started online because it never had like a physical or like an in-person factor to it. Mm-hmm. So just a moment of passionate disagreement or anger or frustration can lead to people separating and breaking apart. And that happened with the individual who we no longer hear from, and it also happened with a few others. Some were my fault, like Arctic's situation, but I'm lucky that I still got Nathan. I still got Syl. Kind of haunted by nightmares that one day I'll have the same thing that happened with the aforementioned individuals happened with you guys. I hope not, but
I don't know. We're associated on YouTube now, like very sort of distinctly, like with one another. So don't worry.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day we can all do this podcast as like a very first surprise live action.
That'd be nice.
Oh, yeah. Like Nicho in his like Icelandic Ushanka, me wearing like maybe not Blood Raven armor, but like an all red with black attire as well.
You're walking in with all the black drip and leather jacket.
Yes.
Oh no, fuck! I wasn't on about that black and red. No. Hello, gentlemen.
Yeah, if I had to get even more specific than like just meeting you guys, it'd probably be when we all played Space Hulk together. Syl didn't play with us, but I remember like talking to her around the same time.
Oh yeah, the early days.
Very early days. Like that's when like I first heard Arctic's accent. First time I'd heard a German accent like that I could talk back and forth with.
Yeah.
It's really weird, isn't it?
It is. It was. Now that I've had like 6 Germans come through my fucking server, it's as common to me as English. But at the time, I was like, "Well, this is weird."
What is this new experience?
Although, sorry, yeah, just to clarify for the people that are watching that don't know the Asmo lore, the only reason I think Asmo's not mentioned in Nicho is because you came later. Like when the community had like already sort of started to form, like sort of like a stone family here.
Yeah, I'm being specific with like the time period, like the very beginning. Obviously, I've had like really cool and awesome people I've met along the way that are comparable to it, but that was like the first one, right? Like the first bulk crew at the time, Arctic, Syl, Nathan, and the other person.
It was like there's me, you, Syl, Khan, Dragonis, Baal at the time, Caboose. What was he later?
He was a little bit later, not by much.
A little bit later, but I
little bit
think he
later.
was like still around the same time period.
Yeah, same bulk of time.
Yeah, there was also like I mean, although he didn't really play games with us, there was also Sir Kyle Jordan.
Yep. He's still on the server. Just don't ever hear.
Yeah,
from
he
him.
is. Yeah. Pyrrhus was a little later, but Pyrrhus is definitely like one of family now. And obviously, Nico, you yourself, you gracious man, you graced us with your
Aw.
presence a little bit later.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
But to be
we've had a pretty
to be fair,
good chain of luck with that.
oh yeah. I mean, with the wheat comes the chaff. Some people we've had to distance ourselves from, but that's due to, in my
That's
opinion, good
communities.
reasons.
Yeah, good reasons for almost all of them.
Yeah.
And the only like tragic losses, it'd probably be just Arctic and you know who.
Yeah.
I think there's
I'm
like,
sure he's fine. I'm pretty sure he's fine because if he was that sort of hard up about distancing himself, he would have removed me off Steam and Discord as a friend because I still see him pop up on Discord. The name is Green.
when I say tragic, like he doesn't ever talk unless he talks to you, but he's never like talked to
No.
me since way back when.
No, I know he's alive. Like I know he pops up on the Discord and Steam. He just never talks. But I'm saying like if he was that hard up about distancing himself, he would have just removed himself completely from the community.
True.
But now he's still there.
Yeah, I don't think he
You know
hates
what?
me.
You know what? Fuck it. I should probably hit him up with a message.
And
I'll do-
if you want to,
I'll
go
do it
ahead.
later on.
If you want to, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm like ask what I was doing.
Other than them two, I think like most of the rest of the crew that have left. There's a couple that are kind of like halfway to regrettable, but also kind of like it was I could see why they left, and it's not like any hard feelings. Like when Calcul left, like I won't say it was sad. Like he stopped fitting in. He was also younger, so couldn't take as much of like the back and forth of like the jokes. So that didn't surprise me, and it's not like I'm on bad terms with him. Like I'd say like we get along and stuff. It's just he's not part of my community anymore. Which is it's not happy, but it's not sad either. Like it's one of those cases where he didn't leave because it was like this big like bad blowout. It was like it just wasn't his thing anymore. And I get it.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, we've lost, but the vast majority of the people we've lost of note were for good reason.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of the reasons why I did that I did suggest, when we were talking about starting up this podcast, like that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start it again because I think lately there's been too much. I know, like, call yourself shocked, but I think there's been too much sort of negativity, and like we've got sort of used to that feeling of like logging into Discord most days, talking with people that we've kind of forgotten that feeling of like what it's like, when you actually sit back and take into account everything that's happened, the memories, the nights, like getting everyone's perspective from future Games Workshop, like products, which is how we kind of all met, GW through Arch through Asmo, and then, the community itself. I miss that feeling of like sincere camaraderie. And I like revisiting the old sort of love of 40k that, I'd say I used to have, because I don't have it anymore, given the track record of like not being as invested, just seeing everything I love kind of like not be kept up to like snuff of like what we were used to in the past.
The
If you get me.
standards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying GW were ever saints, like maybe in the old days, but I wasn't part of the community. But when I joined, there was still a genuine level of love before everything sort of kicked off with the big arch divide.
And they've always been like greedy corporate bastards. But
Yeah.
if anything, that's become a virtue compared to where they could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like maybe like the when they first started out was like when they actually relied on company loyalty and not trying to piss off everyone.
I would
Maybe
say I would say like in those early days, it was just the corporate heads were like, well, people like this, and we don't know how it works, and they could admit that to themselves. So like the corporate heads just let the artists and the writers like down below do their thing, and they more or less just
were
stayed
there,
out of it as long as there was profit. But I think
were there any
it's
corporate heads? Because it started out with like 3 people, didn't it?
oh, if we're talking about like the very start, then no, like
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I mean. Like the very start, when they actually had to rely on people loving the franchise, actually not trying to actively fucking rip people off.
yeah, like those really early days with like actual passionate people. I
Mm.
mean, like if you've seen any interview with John Blanche, for example, with like his artwork with 40K and stuff, and he talks about like their brainstorming they did way back when, and like how his artwork depicts 40K and stuff. Like you get a vibe of a crew that were passionate, that had ideas, that really wanted to establish something there that was really fun and really cool. And you definitely get a vibe from what he says about like modern GW and 40K, how that is not the same anymore. Like, like they still. If anyone out there, if you don't believe me, like look up. It's on a smaller YouTube channel. Why I say smaller? They're bigger than me. But there's a YouTube channel out there that has a direct interview with John Blanche and one or two other artists from like way back when, about like the old Warhammer art, and it's very eye opening. Like, not to spoil it too much, but one major thing he says is in regards to the Primarchs, they were never supposed to be models, ever. So I won't say anything more than that. He goes into the details why, and he goes into the details of their thought processes. Again, check it out. It's a very enlightening interview, and like how they were back then and how they are now. Yeah, they're a shadow of what they were. The corporate overhead now is definitely more hands-on, if it existed at all way back when. Like now there's definitely quotas, there's definitely mandates, there's definitely things only done for financial reasons and not done for any kind of tangible benefit to the setting or benefit to the community. It's unfortunate to see, and it's definitely affected all of us who are fans of 40K. Like there are
Actually,
oh, go ahead.
since you did mention John Blanche, if anyone has not seen his artwork, to spin this in a more positive direction, look at his artwork. It is beautiful. It is chaotic. It is. Mwah.
It's 40K.
It is 40K. Like his artwork for me is 40K. Like if you ever want to know what the true visuals of 40K were, it was John Blanche. Every artwork since to me has been, it's still official, obviously it's from GW, like books and stuff, but it's not the true lens in which you should see the universe. Like John Blanche is what gave the setting sight and visual. He is the one who provided the looking glass into 40K. Every other artist, every other depiction, in my personal opinion, is a shadow of what he encapsulated with his artwork. And the funny thing is he doesn't think his artwork is that good.
Hardly disagree.
Yeah, he says it in the very interview I referenced before. Like, he doesn't think his is all that good. But I would staunchly disagree. Like, his artwork is 40K.
Maybe it's just really humble, you know? He's just like, oh, I don't want to take all the credit or something like that.
I just think he has that thing that all artists do, where like Tehe does it too, and so does Pyrrhus. Like, Pyrrhus does it less. Pyrrhus, I think, is able to acknowledge his talents a little bit more. But like you say to like Tehe, it's like, oh, your artwork's absolutely gorgeous and amazing. I'm like, no, it's got this problem here and it's not that.
She's a shy being though, like she can never sort of accept compliments. Like even like being with her, she does not accept compliments well from like a genuine affection. She's like, no, like I mean, it's gotten better over time. She's like, no, like I guess I'm okay. She's like, no, fuck off, you're amazing. Stop it.
Stop it.
Like even like you mentioned like Paris's art, like the amount of times I've like seen his artwork and I've just completely fawned over it because like the talent that man has, and he's like, he said before, like he's kind of sort of like he doesn't sort of relish in the compliments, but he sort of like, oh, okay, thank you. Like he said before, he doesn't know how to kind of take it like as it should be with, compliments. You're like, oh, your artwork's amazing. I love the refinery, I love the detail. And he's like, oh, okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, but at least he won't shoot it down.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Well, yeah. At least Pyrrhus isn't like pointing his two index fingers together like an anime character. Like, no, sure, I'm okay.
Not gonna challenge him to do that.
No, please, Senpai. Please continue.
Yeah. But I think that leads us to the conclusion of the second topic, unless anyone has anything else to say.
No.
No. The only thing I'll probably just sum up is the the community, the people behind it, and the love of something that then turned into the love of the franchise that then turned into basically the love of each other. Being around each other, learning each other's quirks, ticks, life stories, and stuff like that.
I guess there is one more thing I'll say, like to kind of like further exacerbate on my Four Horsemen's comment earlier, like between like Nathan, Arctic, Syl, and he who shall not be named, because I don't know if he wants to be named, but like for Syl, she's like the horseman of like wholesomeness, unironically, and I don't say this just to be like over the top or anything, but like genuinely from the heart. Syl gave me a level of confidence in the good in people that I was sorely losing, and still am on a regular basis. But I kind of need her, like I need to see her comment and stuff to be reminded that there are genuinely amazing people left in this world. Like she is a regular reminder that there are some people out there who have such a beautiful soul, and that we're not all heading for the pits of hell. That there are some of us who are going to go somewhere higher. And Syl's one of those people. She is the horseman riding on the white horse.
We're all blessed to have her.
Yeah. Like, there's a religion that starts up that is like the Syl religion. I may or may not have to lose my faith in Christianity for a while.
The Silurian.
The Silurian. But yeah, like that's Syl's case. Arctic was a reminder that he I would say he's like the horseman that arrived on the skeletal horse, in the sense that nothing ever seemed to like hit him, like initially. Like he seemed so casual, nothing seemed to faze him. He was very heartful, and you could joke with him about anything, and it felt so good to talk to him, because you just got a breath of fresh air. Like, he wasn't offended by anything. Nothing seemed to really bother him. He seemed to be able to joke and bant about anything, and if anything, he relished in when you get spicy. So so in the sense of like things,
not a truer word was said.
So things could just like breeze through him. So in that sense, he's like, he came in on the skeletal horse. Nathan came in on the red horse, like the red raging horse, in the sense that he would, like, Nathan was and still is super energetic, super heartful, brought a level of confidence and charm. I can't think of a better word. Charm into the community initially that honestly kind of helped lay the foundation for how the community would, from then to now, conduct ourselves. Like, whenever I would add a rule to the server, Nathan wouldn't be afraid to question and be like, well, why do we need to have this as a rule? Why can't we just, if people are fucking mongoloids about it, we can, like, well, for lack of a better terminology, we can bully them into submission of being decent people. so yeah, like that was Nathan. Nathan came in and helped establish the foundation of not too serious, like jubilant, charming bants, fun talks, not too negative and doomer, but not so overly positive. We all were a bunch of sticks, bundles. Like, Nathan definitely established that better than I did. I had different people come in and like kind of push me in a different direction, I might have had a much more restrictive community in our current day. But Nathan set the tone, and I have tried to keep it since. And with he who shall be named, at the time, I would have said he was the horseman of steel, like the metal horse, in the sense that at the time he was such a stalwart person. Like, he came in and he did not at all feel like he shifted or waved with how the rest of us did. He just decided to be himself through and through. And every time we hung out, every time we talked, I never felt like he was swayed by how the rest of us said or viewed or talked about things. He was like, this is how I see it, and I stand by it. And that, like, confidence, I think, really bled on me a bit. And I really liked that. Like, I respected it a lot. So it's sad that he didn't stick around, but that's definitely how it felt at the time. So that's like the last little nugget I'll throw in with what I meant by that when I said like they're like the four horsemen.
Very well said.
Goddamn Asmo, you outgayed me.
You're welcome.
It was very wholesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Then there was the fifth horseman. That was Karn.
The fit like everyone else is this sort of knightly, visage of the horseman of steel being the person who apparently we're treating like like he who shall not be named, or like
I just don't know if he'd be okay with it.
I'm sure it'd be fine, don't worry. But yeah, I can imagine like a horseman of steel, me sort of the red horseman, Sil, basically something akin to Saint Celestine, and then Arctic would be the horseman that like everyone would be happy to see him when he popped up. He'd always be up for bants about anything. Khan, I can imagine, would be the horseman that would come in on like some fucking Call of Duty 12.99 clown skin. like that man is just
What's up, motherfuckers?
like as much as everyone has qualities of each other, like no one has a strict lane. Like I'd say I have essences of wholesomeness. Sometimes Sil has essences of like of steel. Same way Arctic would have like the essence of like not being swayed like the other person. We all have sort of I'd agree like an area that we excel. Khan is the area of you might want to start checking on your left field because there's a bunch of shit that you're not going to see coming.
Yeah, like the best visual I'd give Karn is like everybody else is on horses. He just, and this is why he's so amazing, is he just kind of rides up next to all those horses on a bright neon pink trike, dressed as the Terminator. Just even like nonchalantly as everyone's staring at the trike, he just like takes off sunglasses, looks at us, nods, puts sunglasses on, revs the trike, and then goes, Auschwitz looks actually quite nice depending on the time of year. Because he just rides forward like he said nothing. Yeah. We've been pretty lucky with our squad.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right. I suppose that leads us to the final topic, and then we'll be moving on to community questions. Hobby goals for the future.
Ooh.
Shall I go first, or?
I mean, it seems fitting.
You go ahead. Mhm.
Okay. Hobby goals for the future. So I've not done a lot of painting my miniatures, and I am relatively amateur. So definitely, I'm going to buy more miniatures to paint. Also going to train myself into, trying out different painting techniques, and definitely, I want to get. Okay, I want to also get the best of the Horus Heresy book collection. Not the stuff that's redundant, not the stuff that is, lore shattering, just the good stuff. And I'm certain I don't have to look far to look up recommendations. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Asmo. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wait,
so
was I
far.
supposed to give recommendations there?
No, I'm just saying, it's like,
Oh, okay.
if I need recommendations for good Horus Heresy books, I know who I'll turn to.
Well, do you got an hour? Or 4?
I got several, but
Clicks pen.
all right, let me write this one down. Yeah. What about you, Asmo?
Hobby goals for the future. Small scale? Well, I say small scale. It's actually quite large scale, given my track record with painting minis. But small scale, I guess, in terms of like the grandiose hobby, would probably be painting my assembling and painting my World Eater's army. Like I got to do Angron, 2 rhinos, Chaos Rhinos, 30 or 40. I'm trying to remember how many I have. I think I have 40 Corn Berserkers to do. 10 Chaos Terminators. I've already done the Mauler Fiend. Helbert. I have a Helbert I gotta do. Karn the Betrayer. There's like a couple of them. I have a lot of World Eaters. Oh yeah, I have like 40 of the Jackals to do as well. So I have a large full-scale army of World Eaters I want to paint and assemble. So that's small scale. Grand scale, I guess for like I'd like to make more lore videos on the YouTube channel. Like the long form ones. It's just really hard to do. Like on top of like recording and editing the podcast, I'm now trying to start like a little gaming series to do for the YouTube channel, which hopefully by the time this podcast episode goes up, there'll be several episodes out of. It's not. I just started recording it this morning, so I don't expect it to do well view count. It's not the point. It's just something fun for me to do on like a semi-daily basis. So hopefully they're fun and enjoyable. People enjoy it. But if it doesn't work out, it's still gonna upload them. Still gonna have fun with it. Worst case scenario.
And I'll watch every single one. And the only thing I was gonna add that I forgot is that I'm gonna do more audio drama recommendations for 40K, stuff that I really enjoyed. Actually, funny you mentioned the Khorne Berserkers, because I'm gonna also do one for Karn the Betrayer. Chosen of Khorne. It's really good.
The true agent and avatar of Khorne.
But no spoilers. Anyway, yeah, continue.
But yeah, I guess those are like my 2 micro and macro goals. Micro, get my World Eaters army done this century. Macro, do more long form lore videos. So Nathan.
To be fair, Nico, you kind of took my answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm invested in a lot of other facets of 40K, but I felt like I should sort of get to know the tabletop. Well, not the tabletop, but just like the model painted in general, because I have like all the models that you know, I'd need for like a sort of a starter force, and like they're just sitting there in the other room. I also have the paints as well, and I can imagine it'd be very sort of, you know, therapeutic. I'm sure you can attest to Asmo, of like, as much as it is kind of frustrating to get the details right, you know, perfect on your models, you know, it can also be very therapeutic to just kind of like sit down and, you know, just like think about each individual model you paint, you know, what the backstory could be of each Marine, stuff like that. And, you know, like I want to make a,
Honestly, the reason I'm not a serial killer right now is because of paint minis.
If there's one thing we can thank GW is that there's not like, I don't know, the Strangler of Maine all of a sudden.
Oh my god.
Thank GW, you stopped several murders.
Say, go. It's like the news comes on. Welcome to the live broadcast here in the local news. Apparently, a young ginger-bearded man just strangled out a woman who was begging and screaming at him at a desk for food that she did not order. Right back to you, Tim, for the weather.
Yeah, no, yeah, you know, to the shock of no one, I think, you know, my first army would be definitely Blood Ravens. You know?
Good choice.
Very good choice.
And yeah, I suppose I'll start reading into a lot of the books as well. You know, like I said, I got a gift from a friend the other day. You know, it was Krieg, the Krieg novel.
Good book.
By Steve Lyons.
Yeah,
my friend's not heavily into 40k, but he knows I am, so you know I can appreciate, you know, the gift that he got me. But yeah,
I mean, I think it's a good book. I've read it twice.
if you recommend it's a good book, then fucking hell.
It's not
Then
like
I'll definitely write that one down.
it's not the best, but it's
no.
good.
I can't imagine like any book is the best.
Oh no, there's a clear best.
What do you mean?
Fly the Eisenstein.
Still need to get that one. I need to get the audio drama for it. No, the audio book version of it. But I want to get it physical. You know.
I will die on the hill. There are other books that are near as good as it. A lot of those early Horus Heresy books are really damn good, but out of them, Fly the Einstein, best paced, best story overall, in terms of its specificity of events, best characters, best interactions, best establishment for the setting. I'll die on that hill. There will definitely be people who will disagree. Fly the Eisenstein, though, I would argue, is objectively the best.
Stop, please! I can't get hard enough.
It's
like, oh no,
I'm really damn good.
I'm hovering over the Amazon page.
So.
He was like, Asmo, stop twisting my arm. I'm gonna buy this book. No, stop it, please.
I apologize for nothing. If anything, I will say you're welcome. Fly the Einstein. Still my favorite book in the Horus Heresy. Mechanicus is up there, but just that one, beautiful.
So yeah, I'd say, just to finalize my answer, yeah, maybe start reading the books and actually get round to painting my Blood Ravens army, hopefully, and treat the Blood Ravens with the respect that they deserve. Then the entirety of the development of fucking Dawn of War 3.
The game that shall never be mentioned again.
Despite me just mentioning it.
You heretic.
Mercy, my lord. Mercy, my lord. Mercy. I did not know.
Innocence proves nothing.
Alright, with that, I think we're on to community questions.
Indeed. Right. So, the first one I've picked is from Reverend Norse. It's his first question, I believe, unless he's put one on the YouTube comments, which I still need to filter through. But yeah, as far as the Discord's concerned. And he says, You have been tasked by GW, given absolute control over one storyline from here on out in 40k. What would that storyline be? You can either choose an existing one to take over, or start up a brand new one from this point onward. And why would you do it?
Just hitting with the broad questions.
Because the question itself doesn't say you can retcon anything. As in, like, you can't erase something that's been said, because I can imagine, like, I'd happily go back and erase Erda if I could.
Could I retcon the death in the end?
Well, okay, right. Well, technically, I suppose you can retcon it, but it wouldn't make sense for the, like, you've been tasked by GW, it'd be something, that would have to be integral. You can't retcon a retcon only to then retcon the retcon. That'd be kind of fucking confusing, because then you'd be taking the Luton approach if nothing's real.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the fucking grumble from Asmogan. I love that every time I mention, there's always like an audible sort of.
It's like you with crossovers in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Leave 40k alone.
I mean, I have an answer to this.
Okay, go on. You stop.
Mine, I'd say a new storyline, because like for me, like that's how like my creativity works. I like to come up with something from the ground up and like build upon it. I'm not so good at adding on to someone else's idea. I say that, but there are some that I have some pretty choice opinions about, like the roots of things and where they should have gone. But I think I'm best when I get to work from the ground up with my own ideas. So for me, I'd probably like to take over a new like great war within the galaxy, probably in the 41st millennium. If I wrote it, like, obviously, like, this question we're going to try and fit into the community questions section, so we don't want to be here, like, forever. But to, like, summarize it, I'd probably have a joint conflict with the Space Marine chapter of Black Templars. Shocker, I know. But another with the... mainly because I don't think I've seen them directly work together or interact, and I think there'd be a lot of things that would mesh well with each other. But I think there are other things that would actually off-put them from one another. I'd have them work with the Carcharodons.
I was just thinking that.
So the Black Templars and the Carcharodons in a joint crusade, fighting at the edge of space against a chaos controlled world. Now, this is where I'd have to workshop it a bit. I'd say it probably kind of to mirror the joint operation between the Templars and the Carcharodons. I'd probably do Khorne working alongside Tzeentch. So that would be interesting to see. Because both sides are going to have things that do complement each other. Obviously, Khorne would be really damn good with fighting up close and personal, just like the Black Templars and Carcharodons like to. Whereas Tzeentch is like fuckery, kind of underhanded tactics. So I'd like to see if I could write that and make it still feel appropriate for both factions. Obviously, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to work together, but it also doesn't. It makes as much sense as any of the other Chaos Gods working together. The only two that I think like make sense on any level in a detailed fashion is Tzeentch and Slaanesh.
Yeah,
But everybody else for a combo really doesn't work fundamentally, so you kind of have to make it work. Yeah, I have little concessions with like the established lore a little bit there, but then again, I'm talking about a workshopable idea. But initial concept: Templars and Carcharodons versus Chaos cultists of Khorne and Tzeentch, as well as towards the end of the conflict, probably straight up demons from both. And yeah, I'd like to have like a number of books dedicated to that. Like kind of like the Indominus Crusade is supposed to be multiple books, if I'm not mistaken. I'd also like this arc to be multiple stories. There'd be stories focused on like the initial conflict and how it starts up, initially fighting the Chaos Cultists that have taken over the planets, plural. The kind of growing pains as the Templars try and fit in alongside the Carcharodons' fighting methods, because they are very different. They're both hyper focused in melee and like to get up personal. The difference is the Carcharodons are fairly silent when they fight. They don't really have a lot of battle cries. They just silently slaughter. And they use some terror tactics while they're at it. Whereas the Black Templars, they're, preaching war hymns and thanking the God Emperor with screaming fervor as they slice heretics in half. So though there's like a similar thorough line, it'd be interesting to see how those like minute differences would start to affect the others' opinions of each other. I'd have like internal monologue of certain Black Templars as they kind of are off-put by the cold quiet of the Carcharodons, and I'd have like the Carcharodons just as off-put by the screaming lunacy of the Black Templars.
I can see that idea working out. Like, it would be interesting.
I would also have some like inter-chapter strife between the two of them, because the Black Templars, as far as I've done for like research, which is quite thorough, I assure you, they're not a fan of terror tactics. Like, they're a fan of causing fear in their enemies, but not in the same way that like the Carcharodons or the Night Lords, for example, use terror. Like, they will go out of their way to use methods to frighten their enemies as much as possible, and using really fucked up ways to do it.
That strikes me as strangely ironic. Because for one of the factions that the moment you hear their name, you're supposed to be fucking shitting yourself. They can't be like, oh, we don't support the use of fear tactics. Well, of course you don't support the idea of fear tactics. You are the fucking fear tactic.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being like intimidating and going out of your way to sever the heads of every male within a city and then airdropping their heads on their families.
Yeah, I know there's a difference, but like you can see the irony in the gigantic 8-foot black ironclad Templars with an affinity for like biblical symbols and the heraldry, and the absolute unyielding fervor that no matter who you are, if you talk shit about Big E, you will have a sword rammed down whatever orifice your xeno body or human body may have. The concept of the Black Templars and the things they've done themselves is terrifying, which is why it strikes me as ironic.
But yeah, I would like to head a long arc of stories based around this, because I think it could be really cool. It would take 2 chapters that I won't say both are fairly loved and notable. Like, I think most people in the community know both fairly well, like Black Templars and Carcharodons, but I think they deserve more exploration. Obviously, there are other chapters that aren't explored hardly at all, but I'm also factoring the fact that I'm the one heading these stories. And if I was heading a story within 40k that I could work on for the ground up, I would choose 2 chapters I know fairly well and like very well. Like, I'm not going to pull an ADB and cover a story about the Emperor, then shit on him from the ground up. Like, no, I'm going to cover a story about something I actually like within the universe. That way I do it justice. I'm not sitting there being, just trying to degrade it.
The Emperor Bird.
So,
yeah, I don't want to be better.
I would love to head a story like that, and I think I could do it very good justice. I think I could have a lot of really fun interactions that is lore accurate. I think I could also really portray both Carcharodons and Black Templars not only fighting alongside each other but within themselves very, very well. So I would like to head a story like that. So that'd be my answer to the query.
So, new story about a partnership between the Black Templars and the Carcharodons on a chaos-infested homeworld. So, a chaos-infested world. Nice. What about you, Nico?
For me, that's the thing. So, what I would love to see is I don't. This is kind of difficult. This is because there's so many possibilities you can go with in 40K. Let's see. You want? Tell you what, Nathan. You want to go first, and so I can think about this a little bit.
Okie doke. So what I would also like to host a new sort of book, not a series though. Like I want this to be a one and done deal. And remember when Warhammer Plus first came out, and there was that series that they did with the Blood Angels, and in one scene of that series, there was a Space Marine, and he was having a very intricate conversation with a chaplain.
Yeah.
I want a book like that, where it's like, it's your, and I don't mean to demean them when I say this, but when I say bog standard Space Marine, you know what I mean. Space Marines are specimens within themselves, but like the most standard rank Space Marine, he's praying in a chapel, but he's been there like oddly more than usual in his downtime, until basically the chaplain always sees him. So he walks up to him, and they have this massive conversation, because maybe the Space Marine comes from a particular world of like scholars, so he's sort of been raised to think a lot more. Like no matter how much indoctrination or training that the Imperium's give him, he just can never shake the feeling that he can kind of think a lot more. And obviously, when he says this to the chaplain's obviously concerned that he may be heretical. He might be a little bit Zinchian in his thoughts and theories. But, they've got this massive sort of conversation a la The Last Church style. What it's less about action, pulse pounding, sort of grenades, bolters, chainswords, blood, guts, gore flying everywhere. I just want like a book between a chaplain who's seen some shit. Like he's seen demons, he's seen Nids, he's seen orcs. It's kind of up for like whichever chapter or legion you want to go with. But just between a chaplain and a Space Marine in an Imperial chapel, and the Space Marine just starts levying off question after question towards the chaplain, and they engage in like friendly fencing, if you understand that term.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to outright say, you're a heretic, bang, die. But he's sort of guiding his answers along an Imperium, what he knows.
An
what he
academic
knows
discussion.
to his heart. Yeah.
Or a debate.
Because at the same time, the chaplain realizes that if a particular person was to question too much within the Imperium, there'd be a lot of, inquisitorial questioning along those lines for the particular Space Marine. So he has to guide him to sort of not stray him from the path of the Emperor, but also not lie to him at the same time. If you get me?
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see from a chaplain point of view how he would do that with a Space Marine, but also interesting to see a Space Marine who has been raised on a world with scholarly origins and a scholar sort of society, how his role would fit in with the Imperium, to see to what extent you could keep asking questions until a person who is qualified to sort of hear out the concerns of his men and raise the morale of his men would have to stop him, or how the chaplain, like I said before, himself would have to guide the mind and the words of the Space Marine as to not only fuck up his faith in the Emperor, but also not guarantee him a certain red-robed, heavily armored, plasma-wielding, servitor skull-yielding person with a very posh-sounding name saying, "Hey, can we ask you a few questions?" But yeah, just like a one, like just like a one book done deal, sort of, a nice sort of sit down. It's its whole package thing like that. Like I said, you could choose any chapter or legion that you'd want. I just want that interaction. Because to be fair, you could do a series on books on maybe that interaction happening with several people without now that I think about it. Maybe it might happen before the Horus Heresy. Between the Imperial Fist or the Death Guard.
Well,
And maybe one might happen maybe in the 40k sphere of like the old days of 40k, but then maybe the new one, like maybe the conversation around the Primaris, like a separate conversation between two people. Could be a series. I don't know.
I mean, what you're describing technically a variation of that same idea has been done in the books, and I know you haven't read very many of the books, Nathan, but this kind of moment has happened several times in fact, just so you know, when it comes to most of the books in 40k, or the Horus Heresy series, sorry, when it comes to most of them, there's actually quite a few lengthy holds on conversations like this.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I know there's moments, but I mean dedicated books, like it's a sit-down philosophical one about the universe that you're involving yourself in and you're investing in. And like I said, if you want to take it from a franchise point of view, at different points in the Imperium. Because surely it would be fun to question.
A shorter moment, but not a whole book to it. I would highly recommend you read Horus Rising, because there is a exchange between Gavio Loken and not Horus Rising and not Gavio Loken. Actually, I think it was Sol Tarvitz and it was a human, if I recall correctly. I'm trying to remember what his title was, but there was a human on Fulgrim's flagship that Sol Tarvitz interacted with quite often and had like philosophical discussions with. I hope I'm remembering this correctly, but they had a lot of exchanges about like what it means to be a space marine and like humanity and where the two intersect. Like there's like a lot of philosophical discussion there. So if you want a good example of like a shorter version of that, not a whole book dedicated to it, but a shorter conversation about like those kind of fundamentals, that was there for sure. So I would recommend check out the Fulgrim book, because if I'm recalling correctly, that's the interaction that occurred, and I won't spoil what happens with it. But yeah.
So like that's why I had to clarify. It would be its own separate whole thing, and not like moments in the books, because I'm well aware of the fact that there's been many sort of philosophical interactions. I mean, like naturally so from a franchise that makes a point of faith-based, armies, because there will be, and also one of the biggest sort of demon factions is to make people question their own morality and the sense behind everything. With Tzeentch, the whole story with Magnus and everything.
Yeah.
After the Council of Nicaea, when he sort of felt backstabbed by everyone, like not being with him.
Every time I hear Nicaea, I think of IKEA.
Yeah. The Council of IKEA.
Not the first.
Yeah, I knew the Swedes were involved. Oh, Swedes.
Yes.
Like, I could just imagine like the Emperor sort of unfolding like a flat pack furniture in front of him. Goes, look at this abomination. Oh, like, no, wait, no, not the Emperor, Rogaldorn. Like, look at this abomination. It is not sturdy in principle. It is flimsy. It is not held together by accurate and very well oiled joint. It is an abomination upon the Imperium. Magnus is like, well, it could be for ease of access. Not everyone's as not everyone's as structurally minded as you, Dawn. Silence, Red Boy. It is me that fortifies the palace. You only fortify the fucking library, you nerd. Hey, don't call me a nerd.
So, is that it? No, wait, that's right.
Yeah, waiting on you.
Oh yeah. So, I actually
that was it for my answer. Going back to Nicho.
I actually remember this is something I thought about a long time ago, and actually wanted to get your insight on this. So, one story I really want to see is, and bear in mind, this is a little bit because I'm a massive comic book fan, even though most comic books today are kind of shit, but never mind that. So, you know about the app humans, how they're basically treated like cannon fodder a lot of the time. And how they're actually, funny enough, one thing I'm going to send here is that there's actually a specialist division of the Astra Militarum that contains most of the app humans. And one idea that came into my head is, what if we had a story that involved a group of app humans that was basically the equivalent of the Suicide Squad? You know, these are some of the strongest app humans available, but they could potentially be so dangerous that, you know, they just sent them to the slaughter.
Oh, so I mean, if I were to give it its Star Wars equivalent, the Bad Batch.
A little bit like that, yeah.
Like you're basically the rejects of the army, but they're so good in what they do, they send them on the most dangerous missions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love
that'd be sick.
I would love to see it. I would love to see that. But also, one thing that I would love to see them fight against, and this would just be my personal story, is to have them fight against mutants. Because we don't really see that much of mutants. I would love to see that. App humans versus mutants. So having a whole storyline dedicated to just that, even if it's just like a couple of books, I would love to see that.
Oh my god, I'm gonna be such a dick for this. Sorry. So do you know when we said we don't see much of mutants? Have you played any of the recent 40k games that mainly focus on fucking Nurgle? Mutants are kind of everywhere.
Yeah, this is actually where, like, mutants, in terms of the Imperium's usage of the term mutant, it just applies to anything that's like corrupted or mutated by the warp.
Yeah.
So literally every chaos cultist with a slight alteration to their body due to their worshipping of a specific god is technically a mutant.
Like Vermintide games, Darktide, Inquisition.
In a weird sense,
Chaos
the opposite
Gate.
of what you said is true. That we don't see much of mutants. We actually see them as the main enemy more often than any other kind.
Okay.
Yeah. Nurgle is the most like.
So
that's why I said that. Like Nurgle's the most represented chaos god in gaming.
What I take that you meant by it, though, did you mean like variations of life that aren't chaos corrupted? So less mutant, more like other Xenos.
A little bit, yeah. Like different kinds. Well, I suppose. Well, since they're all technically mutants, I would say okay. Well, we don't really see much of like specialist like app human stories. You know, I would love to see that in general. And it could be mutants or chaos cultists. It could be, I mean, practically anything. I want to
keep in mind we're not talking about things we'd like to see, but things like we would like to write.
Yeah, I am talking. Yeah, what I would love to write is, app humans versus, chaos mutants, maybe of aliens or something like that.
No, that's good shit. I'd also love to see that.
Yeah.
Did you have like anything? Well, I'm not gonna prod it too much. If you want to be more general about it, that's fine. I was just wondering, did you have like a specific type of story outside of like a Suicide Squad type thing, or like? Well, obviously, like I know you we're all spitballing, I suppose, but I'm just wondering if I can nurture your thoughts on this.
The thing is, everyone has. I kind of want to try and avoid like Space Marine answer because everyone has a Space Marine answer in their head, but I just want to also check on an aspect of 40k that doesn't get as much attention.
No, but what I'm asking is like with this story that you're pitching, like with the this like Suicide Squad style specialist abhuman unit, like what story specifically would you tell? Like them versus mutants was the pitch, but like specifically.
Okay, so specifically, what I would love to see is them working alongside an Astra Militarum on some planet maybe infested with Nurgle zombies. Let's take it in a general direction, right? And so what I would love to see is like an Imperial Guard who looks upon abhumans with complete disdain, and technically speaking, the abhumans have to hate themselves sometimes. Well, at least that's according to the lore. Or I would love to see someone who is forced to work alongside abhumans, someone that hates their existence, but also over the course of spending time with them, working with them, he finds a common camaraderie alongside them and sees them as being valuable.
Okay.
Or, yeah, I would love to see that for like the first book, and maybe the second one. Maybe the second one would be. I don't know. This is just an idea. I just want to. I need more time to think on this.
The first premise that you were describing, like, I just think that's the most Steven Universe thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, hey guys, we're facing a common enemy. We can respect our differences. Like the Imperial Guard goes up to the big fucking ogre and like, hey guy, I think you're pretty swell in my book. We're both human. We both hate chaos. Let's learn to love each other.
No, I would never go that far. Hell no. But
it's just the premise sounds like it. Like, okay, like, yeah, we're gonna beat you back with the power of friendship.
Actually, no. I think I would actually have it so maybe the Suicide Squad something happens and they actually have to go solo on a particular mission. I don't know.
Shit! Actually, no, that would be cool. Yeah, because maybe at some point, maybe like the like a person, like a particular like Chaos Lord kind of escapes, but in order for the abhuman squad to chase him, they kind of need to then not cut all contact with the Imperial sort of force that they work for, but as in like they can't focus on communication. Like they have to chase him. Like they can't just stop and vox anything. Like they've got to fucking track him down, otherwise he escapes.
Yeah. I also kind of just love the idea of the setup. You have like an Okrin who is really tough but also really dumb. You have the Ratlings sniper who's like a best friend with him. You have the Felonid female because actually, you know what? Forget that. And we could also have some other types of abhuman.
You can absolutely do a Felonid. It's just keep in mind that all those fan art of like the Neko girls,
do the Felonids.
The Neko art bullshit. That's not how they look.
No,
they don't look like that. They don't look like that. I'm sorry to destroy all the weebs' dreams, but Felonids look fucked up.
Yeah,
they look like your house cat stretched like had their skin ripped off and stretched over a human's body. Okay.
What do you mean? What do you mean, like a Khajiit from the Elder Scrolls? But
no, they look worse.
But for like the Oblivion, the Oblivion Elder Scrolls games, not like Skyrim, where they look a lot more sensible. But those old fucking Bork textures. Let me find it quick.
I'm sick and tired of like the whole community, especially the newbies that we've been getting over the last couple of years, all being convinced that Felonids look good, look sexy. No, they don't look like Neko girls, you fucking weebs.
No, I mean like that.
Closer to that.
Please put that image in the fucking video, because that's my idea of a Felonid.
Let me see if I can signal myself to do so.
Fucking Dagoth TTS, like, you skooma addicted fiend, you evolutionary cul-de-sac. What the fuck are you meant to be?
Felonids look screwed up.
Yes. Oh, but no, it's a good answer, Nico.
Thank you.
Do you like it? So that's crossed off for Reverend Norse, who's just had his question answered. Right. The next question I'm gonna pick from Lord Pink, because I think we owe it to him, given the amount of fan work this motherfucker pumps out.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at the image that you posted. Like on the left hand is like Kibs.
This is what everyone thinks Felonids look like. Is that don't do any reading.
Yep.
So another one from Lord Pink would be, if you guys were heretics, which of the Chaos Gods would you worship?
No idea.
Corn.
I wouldn't be.
Corn.
Corn? Or did you say corn, or did you say something that would relate to Slanesh but with a P instead?
Corn.
Oh, okay, corn. Well, I mean, it says
Corn.
which of the Chaos Gods with an S? You can have more than one answer.
No, just corn.
No, I think it is asking for specificity. It's just the gods is like out of the gods.
Well, I mean, you can't, there's
I mean,
a lot
you
of inter-chaos, factions that, you can, I reckon you could choose more than one god. I mean, you could specify a patron god, like the one maybe if the two gods were ever beefing with each other, which side you'd pick.
I mean, you can go Chaos Undivided, maybe, but for me, it's just an easy answer. Corn.
Well, that's, I mean, like, if you've got Chaos Undivided, you are worshipping 4 of them, so you can specify down to 2 or 3, fucking... For me, I think my patron god would be Khorne, but I think if I had to have, like, a secondary bonus one that I could inherit the benefits from, I'd pick Tzeentch. Because, like, that is both aspects, to put it in orc terms, is brutal and cunning. So yeah, I'd pick patron god, like, all the way, hard, like, agree, would be Khorne, but Tzeentch would be, like a side gig. Like, I'm a bit, I'm a big demon bird, but I'm a big demon red bird, and I'm wearing all brass.
Why can't I imagine you being like the secret pimp? It's just like, hey, what's going on? I got yo bitches right here. Goes to the other corner. Hey, I got my some bitches over here.
Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't choose Slanesh, to be fair, but I don't know, something about
I
being
don't know.
with Slanesh on
Are you into drug
the wrong way.
addictions?
No, it's just I find excess to be a little bit of a contradiction, like to enjoy something so much, but the problem is that when you enjoy something so much, the feeling gets nullified. But, careful laid plans and very brutal war tactics I do love, so, Khorne and Tzeentch for me. Or at least Khorne main, Tzeentch side gig.
Probably be Khorne for me.
Just Khorne?
Same.
Oh, you basic bitches.
What?
Well,
it's basic for a reason.
Where's the intricacy? Where's, like, the sort of inner sort of god, fucking reasoning? It's just like, I don't know, Khorne, fucking murder, whatever.
It's because...
This is gonna be another Eldar situation.
No, like...
Where's the answer?
There is a specific reason. So, with Khorne... Especially if you read like the older lore with his dual, with all the gods had a dual side to them. Khorne, in spite of all the bad stuff, blood, death, murder, kill.
Oh, there's honor.
There's honor.
Bravery.
There's respect. There's bravery. Khorne will never kill. And again, this is old lore, not the newer stuff. The newer stuff is just dumbed it down. It's like he just kills everything. But in older lore, Khorne would never cut down an enemy that couldn't fight. Obviously, his worshippers would ravage and stuff like that. But like in terms of like his dual side, Khorne would never cut down an enemy that couldn't even fight to begin with. Like a child in front of him is not worthy of a fight. It wouldn't be because he likes the child or is nice, but it's because they're not worthy of the fight. It'd be a shame to his own honor to cut them down.
It's too easy.
Too easy. No challenge, no sport. Also, he won't kill an enemy sneakily from behind. He'll call and yell out to them and say, "Coward, face me." He'll fight you face to face, man to man. Honor. Respect. A code.
Yeah.
These things are respectable. He's not a conniving bastard. But that's using the old stuff. I don't
The
really...
new stuff, though, that just dumbs it down. It's like, I just want to eat, dum-dum.
Yeah, even with
even
even amongst the other dual sides of the other gods in the old lore, even though it's like everybody else is still shitty by comparison. I mean, Slanesh, obviously good side is, without Slanesh you wouldn't have any emotion or enjoyment or love of things. But with Slanesh you have massive drug addiction and grape. So very irredeemable Slanesh to me. Nurgle is disease, pestilence, plague, which includes cancer and stuff like that, and I'm not a fan. And his dual side is he represents life and death. The certainty that you will die and certainty that life will proliferate.
Carry on.
Yes.
Mm.
But that doesn't make up for the rest of it. And Zinch. Dial-up noises. So... And his dual side is he represents change, which comes with also the ability to change your situation. So if you're not in a favorable place in life, you do have the ability to change the threads of fate in your favor. He represents that things are not certain, and that you can alter the waves and the threads. So,
Yeah, that is one of the reasons why he would be like my side god. You know, because
like a side hoe.
yeah, no, it's true. Like, you know, you've got your main bitch, and then you've got the side hoe, whatever. The same way. My main is Susie. Maybe the side hoe's Ander. I don't fucking know. She's gonna kill me for that.
I'm leaving that in. I'm not cutting it out. Slinging it out.
No, it's fine. But I say it with open heart. I'm no coward. But yeah, because with Korn or with Zinch also comes like planning, and the best laid plans. As much as I would face an enemy in one-on-one combat with Korn, the honor, the respect, the bravery of it. I don't know, maybe it might help having about 10,000 more warriors on the battlefield. Yeah, you can engage the enemy in like one-on-one combat, but all of a sudden they're gonna have to put in a lot more legwork because you've showed up with more dudes. So yeah, with Zinch there's a lot of potential, even if the current way Zinch is written is his biggest weakness of the fact that not everything sort of happens at once. Everything's a plan, everything's everything's a bit of a MacGuffin for Zinch. He's like, the Zinch is always like, according to my plan. We've just wiped out half the fucking 1,000 suns. According to my plan. He's like the one kid in like primary school or like first years, like when you go around, and you'd play like fucking finger guns and everything, like bang, I shot you. No, you didn't. Bulletproof. Like, what the fuck you mean you're bulletproof? Like, I threw a net on you. You can't go anywhere. Nope, cut it loose. No, not trapped. Zinch is the same. He's like, according to my plan. I expected you to do this. He's like, for fuck's sake, concede defeat once, you blue tentacled knobhead. Yeah, I'm on about the old, the old lore, like you'd mentioned, Asmo, and the facets that come with Zinch, the strategy, the sort of, deceit, but not to the point where it would sort of compromise the integrity of Korn and like what he used to represent, if you get me. It's a very grey line that you'd have to work out in terms of like lore and stuff like that, but I reckon it's possible. So Nicho, what about you?
Why would I choose Korn?
Yeah.
I suppose it's for the same reason that Asmo mentioned. He is honorable in combat. He will not deceive you. He will actively go out of his way to have a challenge, or in a good lore, I mean. And as much as I do think he is a vicious, murderous bastard, which he is. I would prefer both to serve that kind of god, but also fight against that kind of god. I just kind of find there's honor in that. And also, a little bit of this is also because of my Viking heraldry, going on a raid, murder.
Yeah, although I don't remember the raiders at Lindisfarne having fucking chain axes. Chain axes all being clad in brass.
That actually reminds me. There's a fanfic out there, a 40k fanfic, and Nathan, I know you're not really a big fan of fanfics, but this was something I found quite interesting with like an interpretation of like the Chaos Gods during the whole, well, before and during the heresy. Is there's a fanfic out there that a person wrote up of like how the Chaos Gods personally were kind of like thinking of everything, and that when it came to them working together to face the Emperor, the one out of them that was against all of the methods that they chose and was least involved with like the most underhanded shit, like the scattering of the Primarchs and everything, like way back when, was Khorne. And the fanfic really depicts like Khorne as he's not good, like he's not against fighting the Emperor, but he's against all of the tactics that they're choosing, and that the other three gods are constantly having to undermine or reluctantly trick Khorne into going along with their choices. But generally, he's against like all of it.
Sounds like an interesting fanfic.
It is, and it kind of goes. Honestly, it should be like a little comic, in terms of like its length, but it showcases that Khorne's true involvement comes like in terms of like him actually invested in the ongoings is when the actual heresy kicks off and there's actual fighting. That Khorne is very much like the influence of that, and like he's all for that. But every time like Tzeentch influences the Alpha Legion, for example, into like doing underhanded shit and doing like sneaky tactics against the Imperial Palace and against the Imperial Fists, specifically Rogel Dorn, like, well, through all of that, it's just constantly putting a bitter taste in Khorne's mouth for the whole thing. And that towards the very end, when it comes to like, this is where obviously the fanfic takes them like the most liberties, but it's like the most fun idea, is like the final battle between the Emperor and Horus upon the Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. The true reason the Emperor is able to break Horus's connection with the Chaos Gods is finally Khorne actually got sick of the rest of them, because they were all about to influence Horus to block it and be able to take the blast and still deliver the final blow, but Khorne cut the rest of them off and was sick and tired of the underhanded tactics, making it inadvertently his doing to allow the Emperor to sever the connection between the four of them and Horus. And the fanfic also goes on to explain like that's also why the demons retreated so thoroughly, despite the fact that they could have, by accounts, even without Horus being a conduit for the gods, could have kept up the assault. But they were also going to lose. Again, the fanfic takes a lot of liberties, but it's a really it's a fun idea to think about. That behind the scenes the whole time, Khorne was just getting steadily more and more pissed that the other gods were wanting to do all this underhanded, sneaky, manipulative bullshit, and he just wanted a fair fight. We wanted an actual direct war with the Emperor and wanted to prove that they were better. The honorable way, so to speak.
Yeah. And was denied that.
Yeah. And thus he denied them their mutual victory because of it.
I love, like, the perfect way to sum that up would be, like, the entire Horus heresy. Like, you know that dude, that meme, like, that dude who's watching a wrestling show when he stands up and he just gets so frustrated, like, grab his dick and twist it. Like, that's Khorne in the Horus heresy.
What's the name of this fanfic? I kind of, not gonna lie, kind of interested to reading it.
They're all fucking fannying about, and he goes, oh, for fuck's sake, just stab him already.
If I'm not mistaken,
grab his dick and twist it.
If I'm not mistaken, it was the Yellow Eyes. It's just called the Yellow Eyes.
Okay, 40k Yellow Eyes.
If you find it, let me know, because I haven't seen it in a while. I remember reading it. It was fun.
Yellow Eyes fanfic. Collection of 40k. Apparently there's a YouTube video on it. Or... No, wait, hang on. This is
something else.
Oops. This is something else. My mistake.
Yeah, if anyone in the comments knows what I'm referring to and can link it, please do.
Anyway, next question.
So with that answered, let me go. So let me just mark it off on the list. Bang, bang, bada, bang. So the next question, or the last question. Who should I pick? From Pyrrhus himself. If the Death Note existed in 40k, whose name should end up on
Gilliman.
it and why? Possible fallout.
Gilliman. Fallout, the universe is actually saved and things start going good.
The Emperor comes back to life and there's a rainbow. All because Gilliman died.
At the
God.
very least, a lot less genes he would get wasted.
Urda?
I mean, Pyrrhus did also say, like, and possible fallout, so I think he's kind of going for, like, an actual genuine one.
I know.
Rather than just, like,
I consider...
haha, funny meme answer.
I consider... No, I consider my Gilliman answer fair.
I'm not
Also...
about yours, Asmo. Rather than just, like, fucking Urda, haha, Urda die.
No,
Well, Urda's
I'm
already
being serious.
Well, Urda's already
Remember,
dead.
this is 40k.
Okay,
Remember, this is 40k. The damage has already been done by Urda. It's if it then gets introduced into 40k, who would you kill?
And she's already dead.
Yeah.
She was killed.
Okay.
Wait.
Alright, never mind. If not, reboot Gilliman.
Because, you know, like, if you kill Gilliman, then the line becomes in charge, and if the line becomes in charge, shit starts improving.
Would it also work on the Chaos Gods? Because that's a good question.
Whose names would end up on it? Why?
I'm gonna just to save us from arguing about like the level it can reach. The Death Note in the anime couldn't kill Ryuk or couldn't kill the Shinigami, so presumably gods and spiritual beings like that cannot be permanently killed.
Okay.
So we're talking about the more
mortals.
Yeah, mortal races and mortal characters.
Abaddon.
Repercussions?
Repercussions. Chaos will be...
Chaos could finally win a fucking crusade for once.
I mean, Chaos will become a threat, I suppose. Someone else will take over the wheels. Yeah, no, that's genuinely my answer.
Alright.
Fuck, it's kind of a difficult question for me because like there's a bunch of people I could think about that I just kind of like want erased from the setting, or at least like no longer perpetrating.
Let's see, Urda's already killed. Rabute Gilliman has been mentioned.
I've already given my answer unless you guys are gonna force me to use someone else.
No, fucking Gilliman's immortal, so... Well, Gilliman is immortal, so...
Meta sense, he is immortal.
I guess I'll expand upon the repercussions a bit more. Though broad scale, I still stand by... Though it sounded memey, I stand by what I said. Like, this... The Imperium would be genuinely beneficial if he were to... Especially now that the Lion's back. Some people would say, you really think he'd be a better leader than Gilliman? Yes. He wouldn't be as good as logistics, so, you know, transporting goods and interplanetary tithe collection wouldn't be as efficient. But the Imperium would start winning the war way better and more efficiently. They'd be far more brutal and cold-hearted about it, which is saying something given how they act already. But for the Imperium, they'd even get more brutal. But things would get done a lot better. A lot of Gilliman's terrible ideas would finally be allowed to die. Hopefully, and up to including the Codex Astartes. In terms of negative repercussions, initially after his death, Ultramar would fucking lose its shit. As well as the Ultramarines. There'd be a huge morale loss amongst them. Even potentially leading up to some, not suicides, but like suicidal level tactics used by the Ultramarines. Especially if they have no idea how he died. So yeah, generally the negatives would be very, in my opinion, very minor in the grand scheme of things. You know, McCrag would be fucked up, and the Ultramarines would be a little more useless than they already are, but they'd rebound enough, especially if the Lion was smart, and which he is, and would use it as a rallying cry and make Gilliman a martyr. So, I stand by my pick, Gilliman, and though there'd be some brief negatives, especially with the McCrag system and the Ultramarines, and I guess humanity as a whole would be depressed that a Primarch in their day and age died, but that's assuming the Inquisition would even allow that to proliferate.
Yeah, that's why I agreed with your point before, because, you know, like I said, with Gilliman out the picture, the Lion is now the only surviving Primarch, so I think naturally he would step up to the mark.
He should
then
anyway
take
with
over.
Gilliman there. But,
Yeah. It's like, ooh, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen to the Imperium? A bunch of blueberries with plot armor are gonna get sad, and no one's gonna know how to use fucking Microsoft Excel anymore. To be fair, I can't think of anyone in particular, because Pierce's question just says, if the Death Note existed in 40k, whose names should end up on it and the possible fallout. The problem is that from what perspective, I can only assume our own. Because if you're from the perspective of Chaos, you'd kill someone in the Imperium. If you're from someone in the Imperium, like Nicho would suggest killing Abaddon. You know, if you're from the Orc point of view, you wouldn't really pick anyone because you'd want to fight everyone to death rather than kill them with like a heart attack. Yeah, exactly.
Like the only exception would be Grotznik, and that's because he likes blowing people's heads up.
This.
But even then, the Death Knight would be boring by comparison. I just died from a heart attack. That's boring. Tosses it in the trash.
Because the only faction that I think would make sense with the Death Note, or what the faction that would make the most sense, I should say, would be the Tau, because they just kill anything from a range, and the Death Note's like infinite range, kinda. So, again, it's difficult to come up with an answer for this question because it's from whose perspective, apart from our own.
I think it's from our biases. I think that these questions, as they are directed at us, they are from our personal angle,
unless specified otherwise.
Yeah,
you know, set the whole like, oh, which Chaos faction, you know, would you go with?
Yeah, I generally, whenever asked a question, period, it's presumably from my perspective that it's being asked, unless specified otherwise.
You know what? Fuck it. You know, I've got an answer, and it kind of goes off yours, Asmo. It's a mix between two people. One of them's Calgar to finally let the fucking thing die and rest. You know, they've already done enough damage to that poor bastard.
Well, the thing is, if you wrote Calgar's name in, would it do anything to the current Calgar, considering he's not Calgar? Because the actual Calgar died as a boy, and he's just a kid who stole his name.
Well, no, sorry, that's what I mean. You'd write the name of the person who's impersonating Calgar. So but because everyone else assumes his name, or assumes is Calgar, they'd basically, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, they'd know as Calgar dying, but because of what we know about the previous Lord of Calgar then being retconned as to be some random bastard, we'd know as, like, the name Calgar would actually have a bit of respect, and they can't tarnish it anymore, given the fact that he's dead. The second person would, and this may be my bias with TTS, but Kato Sicarius.
Good choice.
Because as much as I don't like Gilliman, he's at least a Primarch. Kato Sicarius is peak Ultramarine of egotistical. He's a knobhead. He always wants to prove himself, but unfortunately, it's at the fucking detriment of others. I think Kato Sicarius is one. Yeah, I think Kato Sicarius is one of the key reasons why, like, he definitely adds to the reason why people hate the Ultramarines of being a bunch of poncy fuckers. always believing like oh, I Cato Sicarius can jump. Oh fuck, I forgot. I think there was a story where Cato Sicarius. I think it was a Necron, like tomb, that he basically wanted to jump into with like only a few of his men. So he's like, I'm Cato Sicarius. I can take out like this large group of Necrons with only me and my squadron. You know, we can fuck up anything. And he got his ass handed to him. But because he's like leader of like first company or second company, I forget which one it is. I think it's first company because again, there's the soft universe of Titus and he's first company technically, and he replaces Sicarius. But he's like head of first company, the most elite Ultramarine unit, and the fucker tried to take on a Necron tomb by himself.
Fuck.
Like a fucking dickhead. And he got a bunch of people killed. And when he only just barely escaped with his life, did he then think, maybe I might need to take a few more men? Because it's not like the Necrons, I don't fucking know. It's not like they're one of the most ancient threats in like the entire fucking galaxy.
Matt Ward all over this.
Yeah, like
Ultramarines.
like he is known for being a person who's completely built up of narcissism and hubris. He's a bellend. I hate Sicarius. So I would pick Sicarius. I'd like maybe if he leaves, maybe if I forget the fucking author that who's the author that loves Ultramarines? Is it Matt Ward?
It's Matt Ward.
Yeah, Matt Ward.
Matt Ward masturbates heavily to the images of Calgar and Gilliman.
And like, because I know it's Matt Ward. That's like the Grey Knights and the Ultramarines. Like for some reason, like he's got a god complex from designing or talking about Imperial units about like they're the best or some shit. But yeah, so with maybe him dead, maybe people might have a tiny bit of faith restored in the Ultramarines, knowing that this fucking dick stick is not running around jumping into Necron tombs.
Dick
Yet it
stick,
was.
It just
Yet it
sounds
was.
like
Sorry.
a Dark Eldar weapon.
Yet it is. Yeah, he is. Yet Cato Sicarius could be used as a dick stick. Constantly shoved up Calgar and Gilliman's fucking anus as they are constantly reminded of his presence. I've just looked it up. I've pulled a Nicho. I've pulled up the wiki. It's called the Damnos incident. He went into a fucking Necron tomb world. Sorry, not a tomb world with like a handful of people, and he got fucking battered because he's a hubristic little cunt. I hate fucking Sicarius. He's a dickhead. There was at one time the Ultramarines were respected as a legion before the Horus Heresy even came out because they were seen as noble and Greek-inspired warriors. But now, Sicarius is probably the most leading non-Primarch fucking Ultramarine out there, second to Calgar at best, maybe even above Calgar, given what Marvel Comics did to him. But yeah, I keep saying this over and over. I'd wipe out Sicarius. He's a fucker. I hate him. He's a prick.
Can't blame you.
I hate him.
I agree. Mood, Kendra.
Like if it wasn't for him, Titus could have been in his spot. He's taken the spot from Titus as well.
A crime in and of itself.
Technically, technically, Titus would have taken the position from him because Sicarius was established before the Space Marine game came out.
No, I mean within the prospect of the universe.
Oh.
Like Titus could be in his spot, but we got fucking Sicarius.
Yeah.
To me, like IRL, don't worry. Like I know the fucking Sicarius came before Titus, but in the universe, we could have just not had Sicarius. We could have just not had him. Do you know how easy it is to not have a character? You just literally drop the pen you're holding or stop typing, not have a character. But instead, fucking Matt Ward was like, let me make a really insufferable Ultramarine character. It's not like we've got a bunch of those in the fucking faction so far.
That's what the Ultramarines are. Insufferable.
Exactly. Why not another one?
He's just copy and pasting the same Nicho. By the way, the name you would write to kill the modern Calgar would be Tactican. Or Tacitus.
Okay, fine. Tactical then.
Yeah. Because Calgar is dead. Figuratively and literally. The boy that was known as Calgar died when Tactican was a boy, before either of them had even become proper aspirants.
Oh. But yeah, anyway,
Oh,
that's
no,
my
anyway.
answer. Fuck Sicarius. Prick.
And with that, we have come to the end of another episode, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in today, as always. We had amazing, fun discussions. And, yes, is there anything you guys would like to bring up or talk about before we end today's episode?
No, this just completely made my day. Talking about why, best experiences with the community and the franchise. It just makes me love it.
Talking about the community and shitting on the Ultramarines. Couldn't get a better episode if you tried.
True that.
There might be another day to shit on the Ultramarines.
Any day where
Okay.
I draw breath is a good day to shit on the Ultramarines. Alright. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We certainly did, recording it and hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
My name has been Asmogan.
My name's been Nathan X 1000.
My name's been Nico40K.
And we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Fox Sicarius.
Fuck Sicarius.
Vaxicarius.